If you're a Sinn fan, you're probably not going to like what I have to say, but hopefully by the end of this you might agree with some of it. Because while many consider the 556 to be a living legend among watches, I just don't see it. Now don't get me wrong, there are things here that I like, and I will touch on those as we go through this. But after owning this for over a year now, I'm overall more disappointed and ready to sell it and move on. On the off chance you're not familiar with the 556, let me throw the specs up here and give you a quick rundown before we get into all the nitty gritty. And essentially what you need to know is that Sinn is a German brand that's well known for its pilot's watches. Now it's important to note that Sinn isn't an affordable brand, nor are they really a luxury brand. They're kind of like Oris and sit in that in-between space, between high-end and luxury. And the 556 is their entry-level watch, a well-built but essentially clean bare-bones tool watch. It's also important to note that there are multiple versions of the 556. Like the base 556 has a cleaner dial with standard bar indices. And then there's the 556A, which changes the dials to have Arabics. And then there's this one, which is the 556ARS, which adds a red second hand to all of that just for a pop of color in what is otherwise a rather monochromatic design. In fact, I think until recently, all 556s have had black dials, but now there's a few 556s with some color options, as Sinn tries to expand their lineup. They also have a few other watches that look pretty similar, like the 856, which looks almost identical to the 556A at a distance, but it's a tad larger, moving up from 38.5 to 40 millimeters, and adds some extra technology and enhancements like magnetic resistance, as well as a bit more on the price tag. But let's get back to my 556, which I did buy used, so excuse some of the scratches. But I found a pretty good deal I couldn't resist, and that's pretty hard to find on one of these Arabics with the red second hand. And that's the one I really wanted. And the main reason I bought this was just to experience the brand and a watch that was supposed to be one everyone loves, a true living legend. But if there's one takeaway or lesson that you can get from this video, it's don't always buy the hype. And do your research before buying anything and decide if it's really right for you. Now that said, let's jump into what I think is great about this one. And the big one is the design, or at least the Arabic 556. I think the regular one with just the bar indices is pretty boring. But for this one, the overall dial layout is great. I mean, it's nothing revolutionary, it's pretty Explorer-esque, but the proportions, the clarity, the cleanliness of the dial is great. Now, the tiny date cutout down here is pretty pointless and hard to read, that may be the one exception. But otherwise, it's actually remarkable in how this is able to draw you in despite it being relatively plain and flat, which I'll get to in a second. As the Arabics here pop out against you against the black velvety dial, as the red second hand adds just enough color to make it a little more interesting. And then the black base of the hands disappears nicely into the background, letting the white sword stand out even more. And I have to say that this is one of the easiest watches I've ever had to read, and especially considering its size. And this is something you guys may appreciate as your eyes are getting older. One of my first thoughts when I took this out of the box was that this is basically an enthusiast version of a Timex Easy Reader. So if you're getting older and you want something that just pops out and is easy to read, 556 is great for that. The crystal here is also very nice, which may sound odd as you're thinking it's just a flat sapphire. But whether it's the grade of it or maybe the AR they're using on it, it is extremely clear. The clarity here is outstanding in a way I've never seen, and sometimes it looks like there isn't even a crystal there. And then there's the general robustness of the watch. Despite its smaller 38.5mm size and thin 11mm frame, it still has 200 meters of water resistance with a screwed down crown. So it's a watch you can do whatever with and not need to worry about it. And that's why I've seen some people refer to this as a Gata watch. But personally, I don't think it's a Gata watch. Because for me, a Gata watch means all situations, and I think a Gata watch needs some touches of refinement to it. Some minute level of flash or elegance that will enable it to pass for a dress watch if needed. For me, think like Seiko Alpinist. Whereas this has none. This is a straight, no-nonsense tool watch, with all the good and the bad that comes with that. Which is a good segue to start talking about the things I don't like about it, and the design is also one of those. Now, even though I said the overall layout is great, and I said that it can draw you in, that's more at first. After the honeymoon phase is over and you're looking for some more depth to the watch, you realize there is none. Everything here is printed and fairly flat, which for me, again after the honeymoon phase, makes this one a little bit boring. And to be fair here, most Pilots watches are like this. However, over the last year or so, I've seen some great Lumecast dials, and especially the Jack Mason Pursuit and the Pursuit Pro, which happens to be what I'm wearing right now. And both of those are Pilots watches that don't have that flatness. And I think the added depth thanks to the Lumecast dial makes them more engaging, more interesting. And after seeing those, I never quite looked at the 556 again in the same way. Especially since the lume on the 556 just flat out sucks. I mean, check this out. Here it's on par with my $60 Vostok I picked up when I first started the channel, which is disappointing for the price I paid for this thing used. But honestly, it's flat out shameful at its current MSRP of almost $2,000. And that leads us back to kind of the boringness of it. Now, we talked about the dial design, about how it had a great layout, but pretty simple execution of the dial. And in some ways, that's even more true with the case. The case seems well made, but other than the exhibition case back, it's a simple, straight tool watch. Everything is brushed, there's no polish, no chamfers, no nothing else. This thing is more basic than a pumpkin spice latte. Now, I'm sure some of you guys are saying, hold on, wait a minute, you're not getting it. That you're missing the whole point of the 556. This is exactly what it's supposed to be. A simple, no-nonsense, no-frills tool watch. And you guys are absolutely right. But I'm bringing this up for two reasons. The first is for those that are like me. Those that like maybe a little something extra to their tool watches. Not much, just a smidge of elegance or flash or just something. Something that's more khaki king than Hamilton khaki, if that makes any sense. And if that's you, you need to realize that this doesn't have any of that. And despite everyone saying that this is a watch you should get and love, in the end, you may not love it. And it's something you kind of have to think about, to be true to yourself and think whether or not this is something you really want, and ignore what everybody else says. Now, the other reason I'm bringing this up, and this is probably the bigger point, is that because of the price, which again is close to $2,000 with a bracelet, this simple, basic design just doesn't compute for me. I mean, this is a boring watch with a not-so-boring price tag, and I think that's a big problem, at least for those considering buying one today. Because this is the first high-end watch I've gotten that if someone were to ask me why it costs so much, I honestly wouldn't have an answer. Normally I could point to the finishing or the movement or an intricate dial, something to justify that cost. And here, there's none of that, at least on the exterior. To be fair, I don't really know what made in Germany means to Sinn, or how much time they spend regulating the movement. Maybe they're doing something in the inside to help justify that cost. Like maybe it's made by elves in the Black Forest or blessed by holy water from the Rhine, something. But right now, all I know is that it has a basic SW200 movement. And if someone were to ask me right now about this price, all I could say is that it's a Sinn and it's German. And ultimately, that's really my problem with the watch in terms of recommending it to other people. We'll get back to that in a second. Right now, I do want to bring up the bracelets before we wind this thing up. Now, there are actually two different options of bracelets. There's the H-Link, which seems to be the preferred bracelet for everyone. And as you can tell, that's not the one I have, so I can't really tell you too much about it. Except that I think they recently upgraded this bracelet to now have an on-the-fly clasp, which for this price, it really should have. But this one that I have is the Fine Link bracelet. And while a lot of people like the H-Link bracelet, those same people seem to hate this one. Yet for me, I think it's overall good for the price, at least what I paid for it. Now you do need two hex head screwdrivers to size it. It's one of those where you need to hold one end steady and unscrew the other, which is a pain in the ass. And it does have a butterfly clasp, so it's impossible to get it fit just right. So I can understand why people don't like it and would prefer the other one. But regardless, if you don't like this one or the other one, or just want to save money and get the watch on a strap version, there are some aftermarket bracelets out there, and I picked this one up from Uncle Seiko just to try out. As well as this 556 also has the ability to be quite the strap monster, as the basic black dial can go with just about anything and look good. The bottom line here is that the honeymoon phase for me was pretty short, and when I look at this thing right now, all I see is a pretty boring yet expensive watch. And that's for the price I paid for it used. And ultimately, I think the 556, like many of the great Seikos out there, is a watch that's living in the past, where it's still relishing its glory days of scoring 4 touchdowns in a single game, not realizing the world has evolved and moved on, and it's stuck working in a shoe store. Because when the 556 came out, like 20 years ago, the world was very different. Heck, 10 years ago or 8 years ago when I started this channel, it was different. And I think the 556 still had a very valid place. Back then, it was half as much as it is now. And if you wanted a serious, well-made pilot's watch and didn't want to go crazy with IWC, Sinn was where you went. And at the time, it was a great watch for the price. That's where the legend was born, and back then I could see it being totally justified. And if you happen to pick one of those up during its glory days and you still love it, hey, nothing wrong with that. For some who want just a simple, basic, but well-made watch, this is great for that. But these days, at its current price, it's extremely hard to justify or make any sort of value argument for it. In fact, and I know this is going to piss some people off for bringing it up, but if you're still interested in this, you might be better off checking out some of the clone homages out there, like the ones from Engelmann. I had a chance to check out their 556 lookalike, and honestly, except for the movement, it's just as good, if not better, and especially the Lume. And that's for a fraction of the price. Now, before you start yelling at me, I know it's sacrilege to bring up the H word in a review like this. But ultimately, my role here is to look out for you guys and not any particular brand. And my recommendation is that if you're really interested in one of these, whenever those Engelmanns come back in stock, I think they're currently sold out, but a new upgraded version is coming. But again, if you're really interested in these, you'd be better off getting one of those just to get a sense of the design and how much you'd like it. And at that point, if you still want to move forward and spend a lot more money, then you know what you're in for. Or if you really are set on spending this much money, but you want a good pilot's watch, maybe go check out the Longines Spirit. I know the one I'm showing you right here is a GMT, which is more, but I think the non-GMT versions are about the same. And an even better price if you buy one used. But anyway, that's all I got for you. As usual, let me know your thoughts on this one down below, and especially if you disagree with me. If you're a happy 556 owner and you want to tell me to shove it, feel free to do so down below. Just lay out a valid, logical argument as to why I'm wrong. But as always, I'm Shane, this is Relative Time, and I'll see you next time.